If I am not blessed, now here's the deal. If I am not blessed, I cannot be a blessing. Do you know that you have responsibility to be blessed by God? Look at Psalm 67. I'm real serious on this. Do I look serious? I'm serious. I'm serious. Verse 1, Psalm 67, God be merciful and bless us, cause his face to shine on us. Why? That your way may be known in the earth. What does God want people to know? It's the cornerstone of all theology. It gets put in a list of 100 other things, but it's the cornerstone. It's that God is good. Everything emanates from that one thought. God is good. Now, because that is true, there are many other things that become relevant for us. So what does he say? He says, cause his face to shine upon us. Why? Because when you do that, your way, the revelation of your nature will be known in the earth, and your salvation among all the nations. Jump down to verse 6. Then the earth shall yield its increase. God, our own God, shall bless us. God shall bless us, and all the ends of the earth shall fear him. If God's called you to business, then he has called you to prosper, because you cannot be a witness in the business world without blessing. Now, it's nice that we can testify of endurance and strength in calamity, and that's legitimate. But the Lord has called us to be a blessed people. I don't mean self-centered. I don't mean building your own kingdoms. But I mean, you can't give what you don't have. And we're supposed to be a blessing. And here in this psalm, he talks about us. He says, God, he says, bless us. And the reason I want you to bless us is that all the ends of the earth would fear you. David prays this prayer. Let me just read it to you, then I'll give you the reference. Psalms 119. Let me read it to you, then I'll give you the reference. Psalms 119. Yeah. But I'm not telling you the verse. Just listen to it. Deal bountifully with your servant, that I may live and keep your word. It's verse 17. Deal bountifully with your servant. Why? So that I can live and keep your word. What is he saying? God, I've got so much in my heart that I want to do in my lifetime that brings you honor, that you're going to have to release the abundance of favor, the abundance of support, the abundance of health, the abundance of blessing in my life, because there's no way I can do everything that's in my heart for you if you don't deal bountifully with your servant. Yep. Here's the deal. There are various leaders, religious cults, people who are in their own humanistic lifestyle, whatever. They can model a certain measure of peace and joy in their life without God. But they can only do it in environments that they are in control of. When the crisis or tragedy or difficulty or challenge has hit, then there is no more stability to that peace. That peace is only there when they're in charge of their environment. That joy they can only model when everything is going good in their world. One of the ways we illustrate the superior nature and love of Christ is the fact that the smile remains no matter what happens. Being a blessed person doesn't mean there's conflict. It means that in spite of difficulty, we are confident in God bringing a good end to whatever it was that went wrong. Because God is good, and that's the cornerstone, because of that, there is truth that emanates because of that one simple thought. One of them is Romans 8 that says, all things work together for good to those who love God, are called according to his purpose. This truth of God's goodness, from that emanates the assurance that everything's going to work together for good, which implies what? Not everything that comes to you is from God, which we dealt with a little bit yesterday. Not everything that comes was something that God assigned or released to you. It came simply because we live in a sin-filled world. But he has purposed to work with anyone who yields themselves to him, to take those circumstances and to work them in such a way that they speak good of him and good of you. It all comes from that cornerstone. We've experienced some heavy losses in this house in the last 18 months. Major losses. Loved ones. Very dear people to us. Very, and young. Tragic things. 10 deaths in 18 months. I've never heard or seen such a thing. Completely, all of them unrelated to the other. And yet every individual that I can think of, every family member, every spouse, every parent, every situation that I can bring to mind right now, those individuals are thriving. They're not surviving, they're thriving. Why? Because they discovered that God is always good. And that is never negotiable. It is never redefined by my circumstances. If there's a problem, it's never on God's end of the equation. There is nothing greater that he can do to demonstrate his goodness than to send his own son to the cross in my place. If that doesn't convince me, nothing else will. This has to be so rock solid in us that nothing ever is able to challenge. Are you alive? Like, are you actually breathing? You all right? All right.